Hi pals, and welcome to a new video. Today I'm talking about one of my favourite things, classic crime for winter and Christmas. Think isolated English country houses in snowstorms, Christmas village mysteries, and maybe even a dead Santa Claus or two. I've picked 6 of my favourite winter and Christmas golden age classic crime mysteries. Let's go ahead and get started. First up is the new British Library crime classic for Christmas, and that is Death in Ambush by Susan Gill Ruth. This was originally published in 1952 and was published for the first time since then in October. This is your quintessential English village mystery set in December on the run-up to Christmas. I finished this week and I had such a great cozy time reading this one. We follow a character called Lee Crawford, and she is visiting family in a village called Staple Green. The family that she's visiting are a doctor, his wife and their children. During her visit, a local nobleman called Sir Henry Crawford unexpectedly dies. It later transpires that, of course, he has been poisoned. Sir Henry Crawford is, I think it's fair to say, despised by his neighbours in the village and by his own family, and so because of that, the list of suspects is rather long. This book has the most terrific cast of characters, English eccentrics, overly dramatic 20-somethings, some kind of stoic widows, and also a couple of very unlikable characters. And one of the reasons why I love village mysteries in this is that, of course, they all have a grudge, they have things that they're hiding, there's an awful lot of gossip in the village, and just general speculation around every corner. This one is a slow burn and it really picks up pace, I'd say, about a week before Christmas. Lee has a inspector friend from Scotland Yard who travels to the village to solve the murder with her in tow. The mystery in this is a solid one. It has a really traditional classic crime pacing to it. It won't blow your socks off, the mystery. However, if you're looking for something to read on an afternoon or a couple of evenings over November or December, I'd really recommend this one. I had such an awful good time with it. So as always, the British Library crime classics really hit the mark. So that is Death in Ambush by Susan Gill Ruth. Book 2 is also a recent read of mine. If you watched my autumn book haul, you will have seen this featured in that. I finished this about a week ago, and it is London Particular by Christiana Brand. If you've never heard the phrase London Particular before, it's taken or used by Charles Dickens in Bleak House, which is a literary reference that I just absolutely adore. And as you can tell, it's already sounding super atmospheric, which this book absolutely is. This, like Death in Ambush, actually was also published in 1952, and this one is a closed circle mystery. We have 7 suspects in this, and you know very early on that one of those suspects is the murderer. I do love a good closed circle mystery, I have to say. In this, a Belgian man who is visiting London, who is having dinner with an acquaintance, is found murdered. He has been killed with a mallet with a bang over the head. As the man lays dying in this, he rings on the telephone for help. This is part of the Inspector Cockrell series. I would love to read more in this series, and I have to say, as an aside, as soon as I finished this, I ordered another one of Christiana Brand's novels, Cat and Mouse, which is one of her mystery novels set in Wales. The reason why this one works so well for winter and Christmas reading is that it's set in November in London. The fog creates this amazing atmosphere, but the fog in this is also a major part of the mystery. An awful lot of the suspects in this on the night of the murder are out kind of wandering in or lost in this incredibly dense kind of pea super London smog fog, and it creates all types of hazards and just adds layers to the mystery. I also found that this is a really interesting one because it starts off quite charming and quite cozy, but this one, I would say, compared to your average kind of classic crime novel, actually has an awful lot of depth the more you get into the story. There are scenes in this that are really quite emotional, quite complex, and there is also a storyline that's quite advanced for the 1950s in this. I was really taken aback by how well written this was and how much I really enjoyed it. Towards the end of this novel, you also have the most amazing courtroom scenes, and I am a fan of a courtroom drama. There was an awful lot of kind of like suspenseful moments in this and kind of high, really tense, dramatic scenes. My one qualm with this novel, and I did enjoy it very, very much, is that there is information withheld until the very end of the book that you really need to be able to identify who the killer is. So I'm not sure that she's done this one completely fairly for the reader. But all in all, I thoroughly enjoyed this and I can't wait to get to my next Christiana brand. Right, on to book 3, which has been a fan favourite of mine for around 10 years. I reread this one last Christmas, and no list of the best kind of golden age or classic crime for winter and Christmas would be complete without it. And it is Mystery in White by J. Jefferson Farjan. This was originally published in the 1930s, so it's very much that golden age interwar mystery. We follow a group of passengers. They're travelling by train in rural England. The train gets stuck in heavy snow, and this group of passengers take refuge in a country house in a nearby village. I think the village is called Hemmersby. When they get to this house, the fire is lit, tea is laid out, the kettle is on, but the house is seemingly abandoned. The snow in this one is really important to the novel because they are essentially taking refuge in this house and they're unable to leave. That group of passengers in this are really fascinating. One of them is a psychic, one of them is a bit of a bore, one's a sleaze. There's just a really fascinating cast of characters to be trapped together in this house. You also have the addition of a stranger who also takes refuge in the house. This one is set on Christmas Eve, so over Christmas, and it is the perfect mystery to read in November, but especially December. I really can't recommend this enough. This is eerie, atmospheric, it's cozy, the perfect book to read under a blanket with a cup of tea, which is what Golden Age crime is really made for. The plot in this is not flawless, is what I will say, and the ending is a little bit unusual, but honestly this is such a joy to read. And also this has been reissued in like a special hardback gift edition. I just have a kind of old paperback that I've had for quite a while, but that edition is really beautiful and would make such a lovely gift. This one also stands up to a reread, and it is The Mystery in White. Right, we're moving from the country house Christmas Eve murder mystery to wartime London in January to Murders a Swine by Nap Lombard. I also had this in my autumn book haul. I read this one very recently too, and this one is, I have to say, really quite unusual in a lot of aspects. Nap Lombard are a husband and wife writing duo. This was originally published in 1943 and was actually delayed in publication because of paper shortages during the Second World War. The novel is set during the really early days of the Second World War. Think freezing cold London in January. London is also in blackout, so the blackout conditions because of the threat of kind of air raid bombs. In this, the body of a man is found in an air raid shelter, which is attached to an apartment block, a block of flats. And the mystery starts from that point. The story really centres around a large inheritance. An elderly lady who lives in those flats earlier on in her life has inherited quite a large sum of money for the 1940s, £70,000. You have a pair of amateur detectives in this, a husband and wife. They're both air raid wardens. They're really adventurous. They have this amazing spirit of good fun. They're very jolly. This book, it has a really kind of off-kilter, quite unusual sense of humour. Detective in this is called Inspector Eggshell, which I think rivals Inspector Bucket from Bleak House for the best name of any detective I've come across. In this, you know quite early on who the murderer is, and the trick is really figuring out which are the suspects he is disguised as. If you're interested in the Second World War, or you like that period for kind of fiction or crime novels, I think you'll really like this. I would say that this is probably more unsettling than your average golden age crime novel. It has a wonderfully creepy sense of humour. If you like that, this is so perfect to read over winter. So it's Mad as a Swine by Nap Lombard. We're now on to one of my favourite golden age crime novelists, who I don't think gets quite the recognition she deserves. And for winter and Christmas reading, I've chosen The Santa Claus Murder by Mavis Dorial Hay. This is a traditional country house murder mystery, complete with a dysfunctional upper-class family. This was originally published in the 1930s and 1936 and is set at Christmas, so it's perfect to read in December or over the kind of Christmas week. And in this, the Melbury family are gathered at their family estate, which is called Flaxmere. And in this, the head of the family, I think he's called Sir Osmond Melbury, he is found dead by a character dressed as Santa Claus, and the Santa Claus costume is key to the mystery in this one. Every member of the family is a suspect in this, and one of the things that I really enjoyed about this is that you get a lot of first person kind of narration in this from multiple family members. This one is very cozy, it's clever, it's well plotted. The reveal won't blow you away, but I had such a good time reading this, and I also really recommend Death on the Charwell, which I've mentioned before, and her other novel, Murder on the Underground. She is a fan favourite. I only wish we had more to read from her. So that is The Santa Claus Murder. The last book on the list is The Case of the Abominable Snowman by Nicholas Blake. Nicholas Blake is the pseudonym of Cecil Day-Lewis, who was Poet Laureate here in the UK, and is also the father of Daniel Day-Lewis. I have this lovely edition from Hatchard, which was a gift. I have also seen that this has been republished as a paperback this year. I spotted it in Waterstones. This is actually part of his Nigel Strangeways detective series. There are some fantastic books in that series. One of my favourite is Malice in Wonderland. He's an author that I really recommend. Nigel Strangeways is a poet, unsurprisingly, turned detective. The writing in this series is fantastic, as you would expect from a poet laureate. This again is a Christmas country house murder set during the early years of the Second World War. And in this, a body is found dressed as Father Christmas inside a snowman. And as the snowman melts, the fact that somebody has been murdered is revealed. This one is like golden age trope on trope on trope. He likes to kind of play around with the genre, Nicholas Blake, or Cecil Day-Lewis, which is one of the reasons why I really love his novels. The mystery in this one is solid. It's really atmospheric. It is set around Christmas, so it's perfect for reading in the run up to Christmas. Very well written. I really thoroughly enjoy this, and I really recommend the rest of the books in the series. So those are my picks for classic crime to read over winter and Christmas. Let me know if you've read any of these or any novels by these authors, or any books that you would recommend that kind of fit in the golden age classic crime genre. I always love to hear from you in the comments. It makes my day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!